Hey there, leader. Welcome to another training with me, Denise Simpson. I'm happy to be here. We serve the leader around here. We're not in the business of doing anything else other than supporting our leaders here. And we know that you are busy leading your teams, leading your direct reports, as well as your organizations. And we want to provide resources and all the things to support you on your leadership journey. And so today's conversation is critical because I believe, in my professional opinion, that building trust with our employees is highly critical. It is probably the number one thing that I would recommend a new leader or a seasoned leader to keep on top of mind. This is something that we do as leaders, and I believe the foundation of leadership is relationships. As a researcher and someone who has spent a great deal of time in this field of leadership, this is about relationship building. It's about building trust and rapport with our individual direct reports because we're going to see the benefits of that in team performance. There's a direct correlation between a leader building trust and rapport with an individual employee and the impact it has on overall team performance. This is important to know. So, again, whether you are a new leader or a seasoned leader, it is important that this is on our agenda every single day. Listen, if you think this is too much, because perhaps you are overwhelmed with your job duties, then maybe, just maybe, we need to have a conversation about your definition of leadership. Because the foundation of what we do stems from how strong our relationships are with our direct reports. And so it's important that we talk about this because just recently a client came to me and said, I can't hold top talent. I can't keep them. They are not loyal. They just, they sign up and then they leave within 6, 7 months. Am I doing something wrong? Is it me? Hello, is the problem me? And so something that we're doing right now is looking at her hiring process and see what she's attracting in the door and how she is hiring them, and many other measurements that we're putting into place for her hiring process. But but the crux of what she and I talked about was this idea of having the capacity to build relationships with our people. She said to me, I'm tired. I'm tired of taking the time in building these relationships, like you say, building rapport, showing vulnerability, showing transparency. It is exhausting. I just want someone to come in here and do their job and do it well. And I had to remind her that we as proactive leaders, we take the time to build these relationships, and it's not overnight. That's the thing. This is a long game. This isn't once, you reach, a criteria of trust, then you're done. You no longer have to build that relationship. It is perpetual. It is something that is continuous, and we need to find ways to sustain our energy to be able to pour into our individual employees. And so we talked about a few things that she could start implementing, especially around her mindset, around this idea of exhaustion. She's just tired and she just can't afford to pour into anybody else. And so we reframed the definition of leadership for her. And for her, it was about getting her employees to act the way she wanted them to act, to fulfill the goals that she wanted them to fulfill so that she can, do her job. And so we had to start from the beginning in the relationship building and seeing our employees as individuals. And when they come together as a team, this is when we see their performance skyrocket. This is where we get to see them individually showing their strengths, showing their capacity, showing how they contribute to these team results, and then collectively surpassing these KPIs, which are key performance indicators. And so we began with that definition of leadership, and that it is about the relationship between a leader and a follower. Let's just start there. And so I know it takes time. And as I said, this is the long game. This isn't an immediate gratification. We met this measurement and we're one and done. No, this is on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on an annual basis. And if you are leading a large team right now, then we need to find ways to prioritize this on your agenda, on your daily calendar, because we can't afford not to pour into them individually. Now, listen, here's the caveat. I'm not asking for you to go have happy hour with them, drinks, cocktails, go to their kids' baptisms, go to their kids' parties. That's not the kind of relationship I'm talking about. I'm talking about the professional relationship. Now, listen, you have a lot of professional relationships right now in your organization. Now, think about the best relationships you have right now in your organization. Who are they with? Are they with your peers? Maybe with your supervisor. Maybe it's with somebody across the organization. Maybe someone in another region. But these are relationships that you value. You chose to value them and to build these relationships. And what do those look like? Checking in once a week, calling them, texting, DMing them, sending a message through Teams, telling them you're thinking about them, telling them, sending them, video you saw online, something that reminded you of them. What, tell me about those characteristics, right? How do you behave in these relationships that you value? And I say relationships in the organization because, our relationships outside of the organization are very different. Sometimes there's no boundaries and there's no limits. But in the organization, we must have boundaries and we must have limits. And so this is why I want for you to recall those relationships, the ones that you value the most in the organization. What is it about those relationships that make you feel good? Those relationships that you value the most. For me, it's talking to peers in other leadership training and development companies, other leadership consultants, talking to them about their struggles, their frustrations, the things that their clients tell them or not tell them. And, there's that bond that we're building, the rapport that we're building, and ultimately trust. And so as you recall those characteristics of those highly valued organizational relationships, try to see how you can implement those characteristics in the relationships with your individual reports. I've always said you treat your direct reports with respect and kindness, and that will take you far. But it is constant and it is continuous. And it is taking an intentional effort, right? It's intentional um, effort to get to know who they are, get to understand their strengths, their voids, their gaps. I mean, that is part of what we do in leadership. This is how we get to, develop our direct reports individually because we know them so well. And so if you're taking the time to do that, then I promise you, you will see these results, positive results in team performance. So here are just some ideas. If you're not doing regular team meetings, you're going to want to do that, obviously. But I also want for you to consider doing individual meetings with your direct reports. I want for you to make that a priority. Now, I'm not saying do it every single day. That is unnecessary. Listen, we're all busy. Your employees are busy. Do not bombard them with daily meetings. So do a meeting with your employees once a week. And maybe it's between the hours of 3 and 5 on Mondays and Wednesdays. Maybe it's during lunch on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Maybe it's only on Fridays, depending on how big your team is. So consider doing individual employee meetings on a either weekly or biweekly basis, depending again on how big your team is. But it's important that you have maybe 3 points on that agenda for every single individual that you meet with. 3 things that you don't wanna miss, right? And it could be 3 things that, number 1, what are they struggling with this week? And number 2, how can I help you with that struggle? right? And have them pinpoint the one thing. They're going to tell you about a dozen things that they're having trouble with, but you can tell them what is the number one thing that you are struggling with this week, or what is the number one thing that's your top priority this week? What's number one on your top priority list? And number two, how can I help you? And number three, it could be who else on the team can support you. And that way you start getting other people involved in those projects. So, three things that you want to focus on in your individual meetings. So, it doesn't take you more than 15 minutes to meet with them. Could be, max 30 minutes, again, depending on how big your team is. But 3 points that you want to cover, 3 questions that you want to cover and get answers to, but actually do something about those answers. So, this isn't just to, gloss over, their actual concerns. No, it's taking interest in what they're challenged with and how you can support them and who else on the team can support them. So simple things that we can start doing right now. The second thing I want for you to do is when you are listening to them, I want for you to start practicing active listening. Active listening means you giving them your full attention. Doesn't mean you playing with your phone. It doesn't mean you answering, other team members, messages. It doesn't mean you're on Teams responding to a message or an email. No, this is you with your hands, maybe a pen and paper, and don't even get the computer. I want for you to get pen and paper and take notes as they are speaking. And it's as if you're hanging on to their every word, showing them that you truly care. And I know you're like, well, I don't have the capacity to hang on to anybody's word. I'm tired. Then go take a break before you do this, because you're going to want to enter into these individual meetings with enough energy to have that full attention on them. That's what active listening is. It's asking also clarifying questions when you don't understand something, or you find them even, jumbled in their words or in their thoughts. It's you just going through the weeds of things, pulling back the layers and asking questions that you don't understand, right? Because of their answers, or helping them understand themselves better. So it's asking clarifying questions. Right? So they give you an example, or they tell you, I'm having problems with project managing right now. Well, then a clarifying question is easily, well, can you tell me an example of what that looks like for you? Can you give me an example of how you experienced that last week or earlier today? Can you give me a specific occasion when that happened? So that you can better understand, is it a systems problem? Is it a skills problem? Is it a strategy problem? Or is there mindset in the gutter? Is it a mindset problem? Right? So this is where you start leading them individually. I know it's a lot of work, my friend, but I promise you, if you take the time to do this individual work, you will be successful in team performance. And then I want for you to end these meetings with them, summarizing back to them what you heard. So this may take be a 30-minute meeting, but try to condense it down to maybe 15, 20 minutes, no more than that per person. So that way you get the hang of, okay, I'm giving you my full attention. I've asked you these 3 questions. I'm practicing active listening. I'm asking clarifying questions, right? And now I'm going to summarize back to you what I heard, so that you both are on the same page before they depart your office, before they leave your presence. This way, you fully understand what their struggles are, how they need support right now, and who else on the team can help them complete this project. That is how we start building trust, rapport, and relationships with our individual employees. So you see, this is a professional setting. So I'm not, again, this is not requiring you to meet them outside of work to get to know them. No, these are the things that we get to do as leaders in the context of our workplace. And this is how you want to start building trust and rapport with your direct reports. So if you are a new leader or a seasoned leader, this is critical. Again, we are proactive leaders. We are not lazy. We are not undisciplined. We are ready to support our individual direct reports to help them reach team performance collectively. Here's what I'd like for you to do. Dear leader, leave me a comment, leave me a question, maybe an insight that you're taking from this training today. I want to hear from you on how you build trust and rapport with your direct reports. I'm looking forward to serving you on our next live training. Can't wait to hear from you. Take good care.